crazy. I think people, I don't know. I remember when I did the first podcast I did with Jay Scott. You guys know Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did a Jay Scott podcast, and it was it was remote. So I was upstairs in my loft, and I remember being so nervous, and I was like, oh, well, what's he going to ask me? But I'm not going to know the answers. And, at this point, it's just like, hey, this is just a normal conversation that we have. Yeah.
Just like you talked out there.
Yeah. No biggies.
Mm-hmm. Except the dog's not here to throw the duck to. So
we can let it in.
I love it. Sit right here in my lap.
We have a German Shepherd that runs around the office, and every once in a while it pops in and scratches at the door.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Jared's
I love
dog.
That.
Harley.
Very dog friendly here.
Very dog friendly. When are you going to get a dog?
My girlfriend has a dog.
Yeah, that's right.
So I basically have a dog.
You basically now have a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. We got Karen and Dan Gates making the stop. You're here for a special engagement.
Yeah, we're celebrating our 36th wedding anniversary.
36.
36.
36. Yeah.
36
It
years.
seems like it's only been like 50, but
I can tell you another 30.
I'm thinking there's no way I can live that long. Not with this level of stress.
I think that's the standard answer. Yeah, people ask me, how long you been married? I don't know, too long. It feels 20-some, but yeah. Why Vegas? You like Vegas?
I love Vegas.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. I like the lights, the atmosphere, the hustle and bustle, because we're rural, and so you don't have a lot of that. So. And then the food.
Yeah, most people come for the food for
Yes.
sure.
She watches all the home cooking shows and stuff, and the house is like, everything that you could possibly imagine, especially around the holidays. And she wants to experience every single part of that here because she doesn't get it at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What kind of food do you like?
I love Mexican food. I love chicken wings.
Yeah.
What about sushi? We have really good sushi in town.
No, I'll have to pass on that.
No, you're passing on the sushi? Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
We did find a little gem of a place on Sunday night
Yes.
that we were told about, and fantastic. We've been coming here for years. We never knew about it.
I wonder how many
school.
food places we actually have in town. Like how long?
I was going to say, do you guys try to hit different spots every time you come? Yeah, because
Yeah.
there's so many.
What do you pick? What kind of food do you want that night? It's hard, but we have never had a bad meal, no matter if it's breakfast or late lunch or the dinners especially.
There's a difference of atmosphere that you find in a place like Vegas, where it's based upon entertainment and satisfaction to get people to spend their money and get rid of it, and piss poor service doesn't bring people back.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things. We can go to in town or up in Colorado Springs or Denver, and we can have bad service. We never have bad service in Vegas ever.
Yeah, the entire town's built on the service industry.
Yeah, very much
It's
so.
everything.
Because they know that people tend to come back.
Yep.
And they're a little bit more accommodating. Now it was different in COVID because there wasn't anybody working. Sure. But it's like you might wait a little bit. Yeah. So we might have to cook our own food and wash our own dishes too. But no, it's been pretty good since COVID.
Yes.
She gets all her fancy restaurants.
You win any money?
I do.
You do.
There you go.
I save my money for just coming out and doing the slot machines and buying clothes and.
Yeah, we went on a clothes shopping binge on. So was it Sunday? Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
I haven't bought anything. I'll just tell you that. But there's several movies that you see where the guy is always carrying like a bags of lots of stuff, and I was that guy
You were
on,
that guy?
on
Yeah.
Sunday.
So
Yeah.
did you bring like an extra suitcase?
We
down
do.
just for that?
Or we bought.
We did.
Yeah. Or we buy luggage too, Yeah.
Yeah, she was actually having pants on that she had not worn from 2 or 3 times ago because she couldn't find a shirt. Well, lo and behold, we had to go shirt shopping.
Yeah,
then, so.
you got to. It's a necessity.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, in town where we're at, you're going to go to Big R or
Tractor Supply.
or Walmart. And
That's highway feet, maybe.
That's the extent of our shopping in Canyon City.
Do people ask you about your bear claw when you're walking around?
Yeah, actually they do.
And the belt buckle.
And the belt buckle.
Yeah.
I get recognized for the beard, the bear claw, and the belt buckle.
It's your trademarks now.
Yeah, I was actually playing blackjack the other night, and the pit boss there said, I remember you. You came over and spun the big wheel the last time over here. I said, yeah. And he said, I remember your beard, and I remember that belt buckle.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, but I
of
did
all
get
the people, like he probably sees.
Yeah.
And he remembers.
Yeah, and that was like 9 months ago or 10 months ago. And so it was, so you feel like you get a little bit of status.
Yeah.
If we're in town, everybody sees you and recognizes you and wants you to ask you about pest control or what fur prices are going to be. Here, they really care about the person here.
No fur prices questions here?
Yeah, no fur prices questions here. No. Bear claw maybe, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about the bear claw because I'm interested what the backstory on it is, but we better hit promo codes first before we jump in. I'll get too deep. I'll keep going. I keep looking at the clock over there. I'm like, I'm already 5:30 in. And I'll take it to an hour before I even hit promo codes. But we better hit promo codes first. Brady, you want to hit promo code?
It's been a while, Trail. You've heard now.
Really? You want me to run with that?
I don't even know what we have going on. I know we have a little giveaway one.
Yeah, so we've got a couple. You can sign up for a GoHunt Insider membership. You can use the promo code podcast. You're going to get dollars back in the GoHunt Gear Shop, so $50 back in the GoHunt Gear Shop. And then now through the end of May, if you use the promo code podcast, if you sign up for an Insider membership, we're doing a random drawing for a $500 gift card to the GoHunt Gear Shop. So you can get geared up with some new gear. We're trying to beat everybody else. Any other affiliates out there that are pushing codes, we would like you to ignore their codes and use ours because you put in for a $500 gift card. So we got that running. We got the Memorial Day sale still running. Tons of opportunity to save some bucks in the GoHunt Gear Shop. And then, of course, we want to thank SIG. SIG being a sponsor of the podcast.
Yep.
So,
and you still can use CRWM.
That's right.
When you're signing up, too.
You can still use that. Which would be the only acceptable code
one, So
beyond podcast.
Use that one when you sign up as well.
You use that one. That's the only other acceptable promo code.
Yep.
So if you hear any others out there floating around, use one of those too.
Yeah.
But did I cover it? Is that pretty good?
That's pretty good.
We nailed it.
That's a quick one, but yeah.
Well, it's good. We got to the heart of the matter here.
I know.
We got special guests.
Important guests, important topic.
That's it. So I want to get to know you better just as a person. So I talked to you a little bit earlier, and I hope if you have any questions that you're like, I don't want to answer that, just let us know. But we had you on in Salt Lake at the Hunt Expo, and which was an awesome podcast. I think all of us collectively, we walked out of that and we were like, man, that was awesome.
Yeah, you walked away fired up.
Yeah, everybody. You couldn't help but feel
we got a lot of good feedback out of it.
Mm-hmm. Good. But the one thing, the message was awesome, which we need to push it. We're going to get into it. But like one of the things that resonated with me the most is just the passion that I felt from you. And I think I walked away and I told Brady, I'm like, this Dan Gates dude is the real deal. Like this guy is awesome.
Thanks.
I just felt like so much passion and drive. And I love, you wouldn't know it. I'm a little bit soft spoken, but to talk to people directly, I'm pretty direct. I feel like, and to the point, which is something I resonate with you. I felt like you're direct with your message, which I appreciate.
Thanks.
Because I think we sugarcoat things a lot too much, and I felt like you've been very bold and blunt and to the point on what you feel and what you're pushing for and how passionate you feel it, and I appreciated that. So
cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Did you have something?
No.
Oh yeah. So I just want to get I always do this. I feel like a Brady.
Sometimes if I give you a look too long, you're like, okay, that means I want to talk.
Yeah, Brady has to give me side eye. Like your hound dogs, they give you that side eye. They got long ears, and they're like, yeah, looking at you. That's how I feel it from Brady. He's like, yeah, I got something to say. But, give us some background. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? How did you get in? I just want to know more about you personally, and then we'll get into some of this other stuff.
It's not that much of a fabulous story. I was born in Missouri, the Show Me State. Moved to Colorado when I was 12, which is a hell of a long time ago, and about the time we've been married, I think. And,
pretty much.
But moved there when I was 12 and started working in a taxidermy shop when I was 12. And had the interest in the outdoors and hunting and fishing. And what better place to do it was around game wardens and hunting guides and taxidermists and trappers and fur buyers and Western artists. And that's what the shop was. And so I just, I became the shop gopher, so to speak. And
you were 12?
I was 12. And then actually ended up living in that shop when I was 15, and my mom and dad and I didn't get along that well, and I was bigger, better, meaner, faster, stronger, and thought I could do what I wanted to do, and they said, "Go ahead."
You were a teenager.
Yeah, and
man, I wish you'd breed some of that into teenagers nowadays.
Well, and the way that I was brought up, you talk about boldness. It's not so that I'm some big badass or anything, but I worked around some guys that were. And they treated me either as a punching bag or as a chew toy, one of the two. And so I grew up around some guys that were pretty tough, rough around the edges, and it kind of set the tone and narrative for my demeanor and my attitude toward life. And I think that's where I got to the point to where when we've gotten together, we've always been pretty self-sufficient, self-sustaining, been self-employed all our lives. We've had jobs, but I mean, since we've been together, it's been running a trading post and running a wildlife control business, and the early stages of life got you to the point to where I didn't want to depend on anybody else, and didn't think that I needed to, and it proved, very, I guess in the long scheme of things, trying to figure out where a couple can get together and where they can actually work together and have like-minded ideologies, politically and otherwise. You got to put your foot down, and you have to stand up for what's right.
Sure.
And not that everybody has to agree with that, but we know the difference between right and wrong. And I think that's what those guys in that taxidermy shop, 45, damn near 50 years ago, instilled into me. And I remember them chasing me around the table because I told them no, and I would holler expletives back at them, and one of them would grab a hold of me, and the no became a yes, but it was no again.
Yeah.
And so it gives you a little bit of a chip on your shoulder and intestinal fortitude, and I am bigger, better, meaner, faster, stronger for it, I think.
How'd you get a job at a taxidermy shop at 12?
There was a flea market at the dog track next to Bob's Liquor on North Prospect.
This story's just getting better and better.
I knew you would have some. I'm like, man, this is the stuff I want to know.
So we went
dog
to the
track, a liquor store,
a flea market.
And
we went to the flea market one day, and I was enamored by taxidermy stuff, and my dad dropped me off there, and I started sweeping floors, and from then on out, it just became like the second home to the first home, and
all hanging around.
Yeah, just started hanging around, and he was like, "Here's a broom, do this."
Yeah, sweet.
And pretty soon you know how to skin. I didn't know what I was doing at that age because I'd never been around much of it. But I joke, and I was on I think it was Bobby Marshall's podcast, the Mountainside podcast, and I mentioned that a book that I read in junior high school was a book called "Give Your Heart to the Hawks" by Winfred Blevins, and it was about the mountain men. And it just enamored the hell out of me to the point to where that's what I wanted to do when I grew up. And, and I'm probably as close as you can get in a contemporary lifestyle to be able to at least in my mind, live that. That picture I showed you on the shirt.
Yeah.
That's a buckskin and regalia that I have now when I try to do some historical reenactments and stuff. And but that's the ideology that I had when I was a kid. This is what I wanted to do. Matter of fact, my shop teacher was her neighbor, which we didn't know each other at all.
No.
But he told me at one time, he says, "Mr. Gates, you're not Jim Bridger, and this is not 1840. You need to get a college education." But he let me build a cannon and a muzzleloader in shop class. I would skin raccoons in the welding booth at lunchtime, and I had a '68 Pontiac Catalina station wagon that I hauled dead crap around all the time, checking traps.
Yeah,
and I kind of set my own path, but I did it on the coattails of a lot of other people that were influential in my life, that had morals, ethics, and values and personal boots on the ground experience about a lot of different stuff. And one thing that's really interesting is one of the guys that kind of coddled me that I worked for years and years. His name is Dick Hayne. I'll give him a shout out because he's kind of essentially still the godfather of our son, and our son goes over and sees Dick and his wife, Dick and Joan, and Dick is mid-80s now. And so that, friends and stewards and mentors that you have in your life, if they're important, stay in your life, and people like that have. in a, not original family. He knew my mom and dad and knew all the people I grew up with, and watched me get the crap kicked out of me and watched me kick the crap out of somebody else and try to instigate me kicking the crap out of other people and making sure I get the crap kicked out of me again.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? I think as you're talking, I mean, Garth Roberts was a guy, and I'll give him a shout out. He's since passed, but it's his grandson Riley Roberts I went to high school with. But I remember going over to his house, and he lived in a log cabin that I'm pretty sure they must have built themselves. It was pieced together, but he had the world record mountain lion for a lot of years. And he had that, and he had several other mounts in his house. But I remember being probably 6 to 10 and going and eat wood burning stove and just going over there. And I remember looking at that lion skull and just thinking, man, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Giant, big mountain lion skull. But that kind of stuff stuck with me too.
I grew up around guys that were probably some of the biggest, baddest, meanest, toughest sons of bitches on the planet. And I don't say that because I was a kid at the time. They were.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember the Blazing Saddle story with Alex Karras when he knocked that horse out. Well, these guys could.
Yeah.
And just great big giant hands of steel and rough tumble, but really thoughtfully minded, really respectful, old school. And I think it's probably instilled a little bit of, there was a lot of sarcasm, a lot of vulgarness, and a lot of professionalism, but a lot of thoughtfulness at the same time, and a care for the landscape and a care for the wildlife and the natural resources. And I think that's probably brought it into me to some point because I really do care about it.
Yeah.
And, I care about what we can do because, what we've been able to establish in ourselves. We ran a trading post for 25 years, and it was an old-time trading post. I mean, you could bring your hides in and trade them for Indian jewelry to take home, or candles, or taxidermy, or whatever. And we've run the wildlife control business for going on 40 years. And wildlife control, in this sense, is we solve human-animal conflicts. We resolve problems in power plants and utility infrastructures and Department of Defense structures. We've had a blessed life to do what we do. We do it not in much uniformity to what other people do. But I think that we're losing a lot of that.
Sure.
And I think we're losing a lot of it when it comes into natural resource management and the ideology of why we do what we do and how we need to continually be able to do it. And she's a major component of every single thing that we've been doing for the last 36 years that we've been together.
Were you, taxidermy shop, did those guys kind of mentor you as far as hunting goes too, and kind of take you out hunting with them? Did your dad hunt?
My dad hunted very, very minimally, and I went with him several times as a kid, but it was more of the guys get together side of things.
Sure.
And so I was tagging along with the outfitters and the hunting guides and stuff, and I was the wrangler, and like I said, I was the gopher, and there's a lot of stuff that I did that nobody else would do because I just wanted to turn around and be with the guys.
Yeah,
it was,
you want a community.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been around this side of things for so long that with as intimately involved or integrally involved as I am within like Colorado Parks and Wildlife, which used to be the Colorado Division of Wildlife, I'll mention names of people that I grew up around that were in their latter stages of their career, and people now that have been in 30 or 40 years will look and go, how the hell long you been playing this game? Because they heard the names, but they didn't, that somebody's name or badge number might be on a wall. Yeah. They didn't know them personally. Well, I did. And so I've been through the ups and downs and hoops and hurdles of wildlife management over the course of the last 50 years. Not forever, but last 50 years. And that gives me a little bit of street cred. But I also think it gives, personally, I believe that it gives our enemies a bigger target because they haven't run into somebody from the private side that is intimately involved as what I am or what we are. And so we're the bigger threat. Yeah, and that's not putting us on a pedestal, and it's not, it's not. They are bastardizing us for what we do, but it's from a historical perspective. Everything that we've done for our entire lives, essentially.
Yeah, it's the difference of trying to read something and get a feel for it, and then actually living through it and experiencing it and seeing the change, the dynamics. There's a massive difference there in your breadth of understanding. And how things work, how things used to work, and kind of that transition and how you're seeing things work now. It's this scope of understanding that really only somebody like yourself could have.
Well, and too, because we're in their businesses. Yeah. We're in their houses. We're correcting problems. We see things evolve and adapt on ecosystem side, but people themselves have to figure out a way to evolve and adapt. And the average person, that if they've been in a position for 6 years, well, they might have some knowledge, but they don't have institutional knowledge. They don't have historical precedent knowledge.
Yep.
I mean, I'm dealing with Bureau of Land Management and forest officers, or rangers, or whatever, and a guy telling me or telling the rancher that I deal with is 6 generations of ranching on this particular property, and the guy's there 6 months with a college degree telling them what they need to do because the book says it. That's part of our problem when it comes to the ecological side of wildlife and natural resource management. You might know a little bit, but you don't know it all. And we don't know everything, but I got a pretty damn good shot of guessing just because of the historical experience and knowledge that we bring. And she's gotten to be, after as long as she's hung around and doing what we're doing, if she can get on the phone and talk the talk and walk the walk too, with people that don't know. The average customer that calls us and has a problem, she turns around and gives a good enough spiel out to where it's like, she's not feeding them a line. She's giving them the facts and the data and the truth and the statistics from what we've dealt with for the last 45 years.
Sure. When did you guys meet? I want to hear more about what it is that you do here together, but when did you guys meet?
We actually, I kind of stalked him.
You did?
Oh.
I worked at the DA's office in the Springs for 12 years.
Okay.
I was a convicted felon, so no.
And he worked for the county and the maintenance then, and I happened to spot him. And so for a few weeks and that, I would see where he would park, and I would follow and park there. And so we would run into each other.
Yeah,
and
naturally.
We just kind of, finally, he asked me out, and we actually...
It wasn't really out. It was more of you want to go get a drink.
We did do that. Yes.
I was just trying to get lucky at the time. That's all it was.
And so we lived together for a couple years, and he kind of introduced me to hunting. My dad and my uncles all hunted, but I didn't really do too much or pay attention. And so I figured, well, if I want to be with him, I would have to learn about it. So I surprised him and signed myself up for hunter education class down at a sporting goods store. I was very nervous because I'm dyslexic, so I wasn't sure if I could pass the test and everything, but did that for 2 days and got my hunter safety card and figured, and so that kind of impressed him. And
there you go.
And
do you guys hunt together still?
I go hunting some with him.
She killed a cow elk last year.
I did on Thanksgiving morning.
There you go.
That was fun.
That's a good Thanksgiving.
Yes, and my first one, after I got my hunter safety card, I got a doe, and she's mounted, and she's up on our wall with all of our other
you don't
stuff.
have any does in here, I don't
No, we
know.
don't have any.
Yeah.
It's a pretty
Did you
rare
mount
feat
it?
to have a doe
Yeah.
mounted.
Did you do the taxidermy work?
No, actually, a friend of ours did that. I was, because we were so busy at the time doing the fur preparation and the trapping and stuff. I just gave it to a buddy of ours, and he did it, but it's still hanging on the wall.
It's a shoulder mount?
It's a full shoulder mount.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Brady, you should do one of those.
Yeah,
I really should. That'd be kind of cool.
You ever killed a doe?
Like maybe 2 or 3 does. Yeah.
I've killed plenty of cow elk, but I don't think I've ever killed a doe.
See, she's up on you there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you've done something I've never done.
Yeah.
Got
lots
all
of-
the heads and go hunt. You don't have a doe for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
I think we ought to.
Yeah.
I think we need a doe right here.
We probably do.
Better add that to the
Yeah.
list. You're right.
Taken a lot of whitetail does, but I haven't taken very many mule deer does.
Yeah, I love that. That'd be cool, actually.
First time we ever went to meet my parents, she was riding along, and I jumped out of the truck and shot a coyote. And she thought I shot a German Shepherd.
I was hysterical.
She didn't understand why I killed somebody's dog, and I was like, it was a coyote. She said, "Oh, I see those things all over the place."
I'd be
"Well, those
riding
are
my
coyotes."
horse. Yeah, in the eastern part of Colorado Springs, I see them all the time, but I didn't realize that's what it was.
Sure.
And then after, I saw what it was and realized, then one day I came home and he's washing the coyote hides in my bathtub. And so that was an opening experience. But now that's what I look forward to every season that he goes out, because now I wash all of those hides.
Okay.
And I love it.
We used to have a trapping and supply business in the basement of a house that we had. And she'd go home at lunch from the DA's office to sell trapping supplies to the people.
And lures.
And she would skin muskrats at night. And on her way to work, she would pick up carcass stuff that was roadkill, spray it with Raid, put it in a bag, and then turn around and take it in her car to work. And,
really?
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, you guys probably have some crazy stories.
Or a truckload of coyotes that we get because they had a bounty, so I take them to the county assessor's office, and I get my $2, and then I park and
It's $2?
$2 for an ear.
$2 for a bounty, and
Yeah.
she'd take
Make a fair
150
living
or
now, I think.
150 or 200, because all they did was just clip the ears then.
Yeah.
So she'd make $150 or $200 a week off of coyotes, and they kept thinking something's wrong with this girl. She says she's got high heels and
My dress on and go to work at the DA's office.
mercury links full of coyote hides, and clip the ears in there. So
So you owned a trading post?
yeah, we did for 25 years. We just
Yeah.
recently closed it down just because of her mom and dad used to work it for us when we weren't available. But I mean, we did muzzleloading supplies and taxidermy and hides and furs and
You just kind of built that up from scratch?
from scratch. Yeah. First time we ever actually started doing stuff like that she was part of it. I'd been doing it all my life. Was I asked her if she wanted to go to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and so we set up at the Tessacue Indian Reservation down there and set up during the flea market. And I remember her sitting in the front seat of the truck in a 87 Chevy pickup with no air conditioning,
Yep.
with a border collie dog sitting in a halter top and shorts and counting $100 bills, and she was making like $11,000 a year, and we made like $11,000 in 2 days selling skulls and parts and pieces, and she's like, hey, this guy might not be that half bad, maybe this might work out pretty good. And,
Did you do a lot of that, traveling and
Oh, yeah.
flea markets and stuff?
yeah.
Cheyenne Frontier Days and
Yeah, Friendship, Indiana. Yeah, the National Muzzleloading. There was times I was on the road for 6 or 8 weeks at a time, going around and selling parts and pieces, and I did the Kenton Coon Dog trials.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't been there, that's that you talk about deliverance. I mean, that's about as close as you can get. It's like people said, "Where's your wife?" I said, "She didn't come." You came by yourself? Are you an idiot? What the hell's wrong with you?
we would take deer and elk hides in, and I would finish cutting off the big pieces of meat and then salt them.
Yeah.
So we'd go through that process, and then we would have trailer loads
like
of hides
semi-trailer loads.
to
We did
send
deer
off and
and
either
elk
get
hides.
tan for customers, or we would buy them so we could sell the tan leather in our store, or hair-on, because we sold hair-on products.
We used to have
too.
the tannery that we dealt with Fox Valley there in Salt Lake City.
Yep.
And we did semi-loads of deer and elk hides for years
Yeah.
until they went out of business.
You would sell hides just
Yep.
wherever.
Yeah, I came home from hunting one time. That's my dad did go with me in the older stages, and we came home, and she was actually pregnant with our son. We've just got the one son, and he's 33 today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
And,
What's his name?
His name's Ethan.
Very good.
Yes.
we came home, and she's out there in the driveway, pregnant, bent over, flesh and hides and salt and hides. And my dad looks and he says, "I don't know if you got a good one or something's wrong with her."
I've been told that a lot.
Sounds like you got a good one.
Yeah. She's been a good one, that's for sure.
A lot of hard work.
Oh yeah.
They're heavy when they're wet. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just fleshing them was a ton of work.
Yeah.
She's been a trooper. She just goes along with the flow. But you make a good life for yourself, and you put a lot of value and effort into a lot of different things, and I think it goes into the natural utilization of resources and trying to utilize, and it gets into the part of our conversation here, but utilize every single thing that you could possibly utilize because there's a use for it. And I mean, from the bones and the claws and the teeth and the back straps and the sinew, and I mean, everything that goes into it is something that can be utilized. And so when we talk about it from an experience level, we do the wildlife control side. That's an experience level. We do the product utilization side. That's an experience level. I mean, the things that we salvaged off of animal parts and pieces that were components that you didn't harvest for. We didn't harvest for toe bones. We didn't harvest for dew claws. We didn't harvest for antler burrs and stuff. But there's a market out there that is going to be utilized in some capacity while people hunt for meat, or they hunt for something to use as a memory on the wall, as a 3-dimensional picture. Sure. That's all it is, and that's why we are. I'm not saying that we're the chosen ones to make that statement, but we do it all, and we have done it all. And I know the difference between right and wrong when it comes to that, because other people don't necessarily understand the salvageability of it. When we were dealing in hundreds and hundreds and thousands of deer and elk hides, we were dealing with all the meat packers around the state of Colorado. I mean, they would save the product. We would go pick it up. We'd flush it. We'd salt it. We'd haul it. And what happened to it? You turn it into leather products. What do you think leather gloves are made out of? I mean, I get customers all the time say, "Well, I don't use any of this." You're wearing leather gloves. Don't tell me you're not. But they don't. Nobody showed them. Nobody visualized it to them. And I think that goes into the same thing. We had guys that, you know what coon peckers look like. You know, we had guys buying coon pecker deals just to make earrings out of, and one guy called it hope on a rope, for crying out loud. I mean, it's you know, making necklaces and stuff. I mean, there's anything that you utilize off of any natural resource is something that should be coveted. It should be regulated. But for people to bastardize every single thing that we do on every single level just because they think that there's a head hanging on the wall, that's the byproduct right there. There was all the parts and pieces inside of it that made that animal. It just is. This is not using any different than any of the other stuff. And she's been part of that whole deal to be able to tell that story and be able to explain it to people on a broad scale.
Man, I'm so glad that like you're so open and willing to talk and kind of like tell the story, because as I'm listening to you, it's building like a much broader, bigger picture as to why I feel like you're so passionate about the thing that you're doing now. Like, and I hope that resonates with people that listen to the podcast. To me, it's really interesting and it's fascinating, and just I'm so glad that you're willing to talk and tell your story, because it paints a better picture as to why you feel the way that you feel, and you're so passionate about it, and you see it from a perspective that most don't. Even myself, I'm in my mid 40s at this time. I grew up in a small town, similar hunting, but it's interesting dealing with all the parts and pieces and the hides, and like you made a living from it. You carved out this thing from a renewable resource that was based on, this North American model of conservation, and you can see how the whole thing works. As it progresses and moves along, and why you feel so protective of that. Well,
and trying to explain it to the average person that wants to bitch about the North American model and that we are profitizing off of wildlife. The North American model components, the tenets, were written on the game side of things for meat. Because the meat market, and the people that don't know that need to understand, and they need to listen to what Shane Mahoney and Valerius Geis actually wrote down in the book, The North American Model of Wildlife Conservation. But they want to turn around and act like if I'm selling deer toes or if I'm selling a coyote hide that I'm profiting. No, the meat market is what was banned. Meat market was banned. The utilization of wildlife and product and resource is not part of that. It's not. And you can read the dissertation of the peer-reviewed information. I mean, it'd be great if you could get Shane Mahoney on here, because I mean,
he's a legend.
I know Shane personally, and he and I've talked, and we've actually been through a lot of trials and tribulations on some things together. But I can tell you, the people that want to turn around and bastardize what we have is because they know that it works, and they want to turn around and make it seem bad to the people that don't know what the hell it is. The product utilization out of animal parts and pieces is a byproduct. It's going to go in the dump. And when you look at what the proponents of these measures did on this go around through our legal process, you could tell what their intent was, because when we forced them to go to a second initiative, because we were winning on the first initiative as far as the legal challenges, you could tell where their intent was, because they said that you could harvest everything, but then everything but the meat had to be surrendered to Colorado Parks and Wildlife. So you couldn't keep the hide, you couldn't keep the skull, you couldn't keep the claws, you could only keep the meat, and everything else because they're acting like that we're doing it for that. We're not doing it for that. We're doing it for the entire circle. That just happens to be a product of that.
Yeah, it's an entirety.
Yeah, and so I see no problem, like with the elk refuge selling deer and elk antlers. See no problem with that whatsoever. The antis think that that's wrong. Why? Because they think we go out and cut the frickin' horns off. Yeah, they don't know that they drop them. Now, some people do. They know that. but they're still arguing the fact that we're trying to turn around and profit off of wildlife.
Sure.
And I think the passion and stuff that we drive, that's why our kid is so involved in it. He runs the business with us. I mean, it's everything that we do. We live it, breathe it, eat it, crap it, drink it, screw it, sleep it. I mean, it's everything that we do revolves around this.
Yeah. Do you look back on those times fondly?
They were a lot simpler.
A lot simpler.
They were very simple. We ran our business was open 7 days a week.
7 days a week. You were there 7 days a week doing something.
My mom and dad helped on Sundays, but primarily 7 days a week. We ran one business for a while, and then we ran 2 businesses at the same time. So we're used to being busy all the time. But one point I want to make is we sold over the years hundreds or not even thousands of skulls, teeth, claws, hides to teachers for education.
Yep.
They wanted to have a box in their room. That way the students could actually feel it. They could teach about it. So I feel that we actually served a great service to those individuals that maybe wouldn't have been able to get a hold of something and at least be able to just show the kids it.
It's hard.
There's a purpose for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to get people to understand the value of something when they don't know what the value of something is.
Yeah.
I mean, get somebody to understand what a bar of silver is worth. Show them a quarter. Okay, no big deal. Show them a 100-ounce bar of silver. How many quarters can you make out of that? That shows the value of it. The value of wildlife and natural resources is when you touch it, you feel it, you fondle it. If you see it at a distance, you have no direct connectivity to it.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to grasp it. You have to be able to walk up to it. You have to be able to realize that it was alive and now it's not, and I took it because I had the choice to. But you know how many times I went out there and I didn't pull the trigger? I had the choice to do that too.
Yep.
And so when you're looking at things from a human-animal conflict resolution side of things, what we do with our business, but you're also looking at a utilization side, all of that goes into the management. All of that goes into the North American model of wildlife conservation. It all goes into why we have what we have and where it came from and where we need to go with it. Because it's a lot easier to turn around and say, I have this. I can touch it, feel it, and fondle it. Look at this claw. You know how many times people walk up to me and want to grab
the claw?
it? Can
It's
I
like
feel
a
your
pregnant
claw?
woman. They run out, they rub the belly, and when they
It's like
grab
a
your
big
bear
belt
claw.
buckle. Can I feel your belt buckle? And it's like, well, just don't go any lower or anything. I mean, there's
You can.
Yeah, people are enamored by things of curiosity and interest and uniqueness. Wildlife, every single thing is unique about it. They like to see what it is. Why do you think wildlife museums are so popular? Because people like to go see it. Where do you think that comes from? From sportsmen and women. I mean, you don't go to a wildlife museum unless somebody actually killed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the knowledge and education that you provide to society, like Karen had mentioned, is something to where, she would sell 5 or 6 skulls to somebody, and the way that they felt them, and the way that it's primal. It's part of people. It's part of humans on the planet. And just because you don't want to do that doesn't mean that everybody else doesn't want to do it.
Or that you've never experienced it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I want to kind of know, like, what sort of value do you place on, growing up in the outdoors, growing up hunting, fishing, trapping? It looks like right now we have a big changing landscape. It's like a lot of people are more disconnected from the outdoors than ever.
Yeah.
But like, obviously it's shaped your guys' life. So what sort of value do you place on, growing up, being able to go outdoors and do all the things you have? And like,
I think it's the only reason we exist anymore, personally. And I think that when you listen to people like Mahoney and when Valerius Geist was alive, and you hear the value that people provide. Shane said something that sticks with me very solidly, that everybody benefits off wildlife. And when you're intimately involved with it, you benefit more. But then you can educate others about it. When somebody goes skiing, they see a moose. first thing they do is tell people about the moose on their ski trip. When they turn around and fishing and they saw a herd of elk cross the highway, first thing they do, they forgot about the fish that they caught. They tell them about the elk that crossed the highway. That's why people like to go to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
That's why they like to go to
the only reason
Glacier.
Yellowstone people go to Yellowstone, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's to see wildlife.
I mean, geysers are cool.
I mean,
but
did you see that thing that Sportsman's Alliance put out? Is you know, there was a complaint. Did you see that online? It was a complaint, and it was just last week. And one of the tenants, one of the guests, one of their suggestion box letters. Did you see this?
Yeah.
Where they said, "What you need to train your bears to be able to go to places where we can see them," and it's like that's the people that we deal with.
Yeah.
They need to train the bears to go.
Well, and I've heard there's kind of an undercurrent of people seeing wildlife and less wildlife. Like I've heard that's been a complaint of people that are visiting. They expect to go to Yellowstone and see animals. You know, a lot of them, and I've heard just kind of an undercurrent. Hey, we're not seeing the animals we thought we would see.
Well, and I'll say that, and of course, we get off track, and we could go down a dozen different rabbit holes.
Sure.
You might have to get lunch and then come back or whatever. But as much as we've traveled, and because we have a hunting background, and I'm not saying that hunters don't go to Yellowstone or Rocky Mountain National Park or whatever, but we would go at 6 o'clock in the morning. And we would go at 4 to 7 o'clock at night.
You know when the animals are going to be moving around.
Yeah, because and so Lauren Strag with Good Bull Outdoors, who does our social media accounts for us, and he just got back from Yellowstone. When is he out? He's filming all the stuff at those times. Yeah. When is everybody else out? Well, 9:30, 10 after they got breakfast.
Yeah, the heat of the day, no animals are moving around. That's why you're not seeing it.
Exactly. And they're like, well,
they don't understand the biology.
They don't have a clue. And they don't understand the concept of what sportsmen and women do to be able to turn around and go in the field and pursue their quarry, their prey. And it's a lot of time and effort to be able to get what you want to get, whether it's just the enjoyment of it or you're actually trying to, fill a tag.
And that could be a very negative thing too, because then people be like, yeah, there is no wildlife because hunters are taking too many. But it's like, no, you're going at the wrong time to see them. So it's like, even though they just don't know the basics, that could then turn around and be a very negative thing. And legislation, it's like, oh yeah, people are taking too many animals. Like, no, they're there. You just got to go at the times when the animals are there.
Well, and we see too. I mean, Karen was talking to you about the deer and the antelope on our property. And there'll be 150 antelope and 45 deer and 90 acres is what we got. It's but there's vacant land and there's little farmsteads and stuff. But the people driving down the highway, we border Highway 9. They'll never see any of that game. It's lines, eyes on a yellow line. They won't see anything off the side of the road. I mean, for 25 years, people didn't know where the hell we lived, and we got a house and a barn sitting there, and it's like, well, I've never seen that before. It's like it's not in the trees,
Yeah.
But people they're not cognizant of their surroundings, and they're not cognizant and aware of the landscape as a whole. I'm not saying everybody, but the overwhelming majority of the public, and we know that from a fact, just with our way of life, what we've done, how we've lived, that people had no idea. And we've been around this. We've been on both sides of the spectrum of this for the service side of it, and for the retail side of it, and for the consumptive use side of it. And there's no difference between any one of those with the people that don't hunt. They all have an opinion about something, but they don't have a factual based opinion.
Maybe talk a little bit, I'm curious, in your lifespan, in kind of the businesses that you built, you've chose, and where you grew up. Talk a little bit about like the landscape of just as people. How are we changing? Have you seen that change? Like, have we changed?
Yes.
You have?
Yes. And I'll let her talk about it.
And how so?
I think over the years to where we're at now, people do not pay attention. Maybe don't care, and they don't listen to what you're telling them. And sometimes we see that with our customers I'm speaking to on the phone. I'll go through and tell them all the information I need to for whatever the instance is, but then the guys go out to their home and they never even listen to what I had to tell them.
And she's trying to educate them.
And you're trying to educate them. We're to that point now. I think if you start back when we started the retail, people were more eager to hear what you had to say and to actually stand there and be intrigued and want to maybe be more engaged. And I don't know if that's because of electronics now, to where we are so disengaged from conversation and being a part of something. I think we've lost a lot. I think it would be much different having a retail store now than what it was when we started and was engaged. And we were in a tourist area, so we had lots of tourists.
People's attention span have dropped significantly.
Yes,
I mean, like,
definitely.
And I know this from a fact on the phone side of it. You know, you got like 0.7 seconds to grab somebody's attention, and that for them to see a message, to be able to resonate and recall that message, they have to see that message 11 times over a 7-second period or some crap. I mean, you know, you look at it and go, if that's the case, no wonder they don't have a clue about what we're talking about in natural resources and wildlife management. And I think that one of the biggest things that we see is the lack of attention to detail that people want to provide for something that matters. I'm not talking about the 5-day season. I'm not talking about the vacation. What matters past that? What matters next year? What matters 5 years from now? Now, you've got activists on both sides of the spectrum, but the average general public, that middle of the road group that we talk about, their attention span is very, very limited, and their opinions are built on a lot of things that aren't factual.
And there's lots of misinformation on the computer.
Yeah.
Lots. And so you have to weed that out of the conversation and get to what is actually the truth. Because with what we deal with, and that's with our retail store or with our business for the wildlife, we are heavily regulated. And there is lots of federal and state laws that pertain to animals and birds and everything. And there's lots of misinformation on the computer of how you can handle those.
Yeah, they'll probably be like, oh, I read this on the internet. Like, no, this is exactly not. You'd rather listen from the source, like you guys. But like, oh, I read this. It must be true.
Right.
Well, and the thing too is and I joke about this often, and we see it so frequently, that people don't want you and I to do what we do until it affects them. And then when it affects them, burn it, kill it, hang it, shoot it, stomp it. You know, I don't care what you do to it. Get it out of my house, get it out of my garden. But before, when it was in the neighbor's garden, you were criticizing me for turning around and getting it out of there.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of our issue that we've got is nobody thinks it's going to affect them. How many people turn around and call you about, well, it's in town?
Oh, they're surprised that there's a skunk or there's a coon or a red fox. I said, they are born there. They don't know anything different, you know? And the communities have grown into the mountain areas, so that's just going to be natural. Or deer. They're so surprised that we have deer in Canyon City. Well, that's where we always have had an issue, you know, and there's a lot of them. But they don't like it. And so what can we do to get rid of it? You know, well, and so it's always interesting to try and have them listen to you and take your advice, or and I can try and refer
what really
research.
pisses them off is when she tells them something, they'll call me thinking they're getting a hold of another business, but they just call the other number, and then I'll tell them something, and then they'll call 3 or 4 other places that will send them back to us, because we specialize in specific things, and you could see them coming back with this sheepish grin on their face. You know, it's like, oh crap, now I got to go talk to the asshole. You know, and it's something to where I think that's the most trying thing that we have to figure out a way to deal with when I'm dead and gone, you know, 5, 10, 15 years from now, that if you don't set a precedent on proper protocols and procedure, where are you going to end up down the road? We want to talk about, you know, sustainable wildlife populations in perpetuity. How are we going to get to that if people don't freaking, you know, have any facts or data or knowledge to be able to turn around and do that?
The public perception of hunting and wildlife in general over your lifespan, you've seen it change as well, I would assume, as far as like just hunting is a lifestyle, hunting is something that that people do.
Yeah.
The dumber people get, the more dumb they get. I mean, you know, and it sounds like I'm being critical, but it's you know, in 1900, 20% of the population lived in cities and 80% lived on the rural side of things. In 1950, it was 50-50 split. And in 2000, it was 20% lived on the landscape and 80% lived in the cities. What are you going to do 25 years from now. It's going to be less than 5% that is rural, and 95%. How do you govern? How do you manage? And how do you sustain something that's so important to everybody when only 5% really actually understand it?
Yeah.
And that 5%, I think, is going to include a fair amount of the individuals that actually go out and pursue game, because some of us don't live in condominiums and trailer parks and stuff. I mean, not knocking anybody that does, but if you do, you aren't in tune with the landscape as intimately as what people that live on the landscape are.
Yeah. Was there maybe give me an idea of like when you, how did this become Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management and your involvement? And was there like a tipping point? Was there a trigger for you? Like what happened where you were like, okay, it's time to do something. I got to do something.
Back in, I've been playing the politics side for about 15 years. 16 years, I guess. When Colorado Parks and Wildlife changed from the Colorado Division of Wildlife, the ideology under Governor Hickenlooper at the time started to change significantly because it was more park centric. And so while we were playing at the wildlife side of things, I got involved with the Colorado Trappers and Predator Hunters Association. Was elected to be, through some different citizens petitions that we were successful on, was elected to be vice president, and then ultimately was handed the baton to be president, which is not it's not like you get a Grammy or an Oscar.
Didn't come with a giant paycheck.
No, it came with a hangman's noose and a guillotine and some cyanide capsules for last
You're probably
minute.
poor because of it, right?
And I'm still the damn president now. So I mean, but trying to fight the enemy at that time was difficult, because when you segregate yourself as a trapper, you become the ugly redheaded stepchild on a milk carton. I mean, it's like, well, we know that trapping is good, Gates, but we can't socialize. We can't connect ourselves with trapping. And so a buddy of mine, Chris Journey, and I started the Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management back in 2016, knowing full well that when Governor Hickenlooper was stepping out, that we were likely going to have some significant changes on the gubernatorial side in 2018, which has come to fruition, and we still have. It's like Hannibal Lecter, being in office right now, and the first gentleman is not a hell of a lot better. Both of them together are two demons that are, in my mind, demon-like when it comes to wildlife management, conservation, and hunting and fishing, and the things that we have tried to uphold, and that we've, you learn from mistakes, but you make things better. You don't turn around and make things worse. And the last 6 years have only gotten worse. So when Chris and I started this organization, which, and I'll just say it, but the mission of it is to enhance, promote, and defend the North American model of wildlife conservation and responsible wildlife management, period. We're not a membership organization, but we felt that we needed lobbying representation at the Colorado Capitol, which we got the first year. And now we've got 3 full-time lobbyists. And we legitimately became, and we've got partners that we work with, and we've got a coalition that we work within that we started with a buddy of ours, and trying to get people to understand that if you want representation, you have to provide it for yourself. And if anybody speaks on your behalf, they have to be part of a collective mentality to be able to get that message across. So we did what we needed to do. Lo and behold, we became the tip of the iceberg in May of 2019 when there was a citizens petition that came up, and we beat that citizens petition to ban the harvest of bobcats with this governor's new commissioners that were appointed. And we put 350 people at the Courtyard Marriott at a commission meeting. It was the largest commission meeting that had been had at that time, and we busted our ass to get that many people there. With this commission that was appointed by this governor, and we won 11-0. The next year, HSUS, Humane Society of the United States, came back, and we beat them again, 11-0, with new commissioners with this governor's appointment. They decided to do the same thing in 2021, but knowing full well that they'd probably lose, because I think that they counted the votes ahead of time, they withdrew the petition about a month ahead of time. And then they decided to go, hey, I think we're going back to a different route. So they went to the legislature. And in the February of 22, Senate Bill 31 was introduced, and we beat them at the General Assembly on mountain lions and bobcats 4-1 when we were told we were going to lose 4-1. And that was another deal. We put 375 people at the steps of the Capitol and inside during the latter stages of COVID. And sportsmen and women showed up, and we beat them. This was the next choice for them to turn around and come at us at this direction. But it's been a culmination of efforts because, you know, if you look back 30 some odd years ago, a bear hunting campaign was initiated. It was Initiative 10, and it took spring bear hunting away. No hounds, no bait, fall only. 4 years later, Wild Earth Guardians, or SNAPU at the time, took trapping away through a ballot initiative, which was a constitutional amendment that passed by 52 to 48%. But what I'll tell you is that while Colorado has changed significantly demographics and population-wise, the organizational effort from the sporting side of things is 100 times different now than what it was then. The sportsmen and women were not well organized at that point in time. They were not well structured. And I don't think they had the intestinal fortitude, and I won't say the brains, but they didn't have the collective mindset because you had trappers on one side, you had bear hunters on the other side. I don't give a rat's ass about either one, honestly. I care about sportsmen and where they fall underneath of that umbrella, and I think that that's what we've been able to formulate specifically since 2016 with the formulation of CRWM, is to make sure that we have the partners and we have the resources and we have the collective mindset to where I might not like what you do, but I'm not going to turn around and try to take it away from you.
Yeah, exactly.
I might not care about that person over there, but I can find the commonality between the things that we agree on, and we can have our differences. We can roll around the parking lot for all I care. It doesn't really matter. You know, I mean, what are they going to do? Hurt me? I've been hurt for the last 60 years in some capacity. I'm sick and tired of us acting like that we are each other's enemies. Our enemies are the sons of bitches trying to take it away from you and her and him and me and everybody else. We have to figure out a way that we're going to turn around and put the Army together, and that's what we did with CRWM, and that's why we become the number one target, and that's why we've got the bandwidth to do what we're doing, and I think that that's why we're going to be victorious if this son of a bitch gets on the freaking ballot.
Yeah. I want to dive into like kind of the latest, you know, what's going on and then kind of like how, you know, people can get involved and they can help. But I'm curious, before we dive into that, I want to ask the question. It sounds exhausting. What you do sounds exhausting. I'm just being honest. Yes. You know, whenever I'm around, and I've talked with Dan, you know, we had you on the podcast before. At the end of it, I remember thinking, man, that guy has the energy of my 11-year-old. Like it seems like it must be exhausting. And you're constantly involved. You're constantly out. You're doing podcasts. You're doing different content. You're lobbying at the Capitol. You're doing all these things. Why is it so important to you? Like, what is it why is this so important to you?
I think I've got a chip on my shoulder. Okay. And I don't think that. I think we're getting more people with chips on their shoulder. I think that we've become at a breaking point, specifically in Colorado, because of this election process and the people in power that are coming with ideologies to stop everything. They want to stop agriculture. They want to stop oil and gas. They want to stop public land use and recreation. They want to stop hunting and fishing. They want to stop everything that has anything to do with my background, my lifestyle, what we adhere to. And I think that that chip on my shoulder kind of bleeds over to people that are really close to us, and we've got a really good network and a core group of individuals that see the passion. Sometimes they might question, why the hell did I get in? I mean, there's friends of ours that are on our board, and they'll comment and go, yeah, well, I remember 6 years ago, and the game warden said, go talk to that guy. Yeah. Well, that was the stupidest thing I ever did, man. Because now it's almost, it breeds, you know, and you become part of a living, breathing organism or mechanism of solution, problem solving stuff, and I just, you know, people say all the time, if it's not for the right things, what are you willing to do for the wrong things? And I don't think there is any wrong things when it comes to this. I joke about this, but it's not a joke. We need we need to draw a line in the sand. We need to turn around, and if we spend as much time doing what we do to get ready for the hunt, we better figure out a way to fight for the hunt. And you know, that's why when we came up with the Save the Hunt, you cry.
A tickle makes my eyes water.
We came up with the Save the Hunt as the URL. You know, it's Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management, but that's a long freaking thing to turn around and put out there. Save the Hunt. That resonates, and it resonates now enough to where people go, I want to help save the hunt. But they're not just talking about it in Colorado. They're talking about it in Texas and in New Hampshire and in California to turn around and try to reverse some things, in Montana and Utah and every state now. And I think that chip on my shoulder has bred enthusiasm and optimism within the community. And I hope people understand that what we're talking about, yeah, this is a Colorado-centric issue right now, but it's not about Colorado. It's about hunting. It's about fishing. It's about wildlife management. It's about conservation. It's about the North American model. And I think that if we're not willing to turn around and fight for that stuff, we might as well just turn around and hand it over. If we're going to hand it over, then I can go do something else and, I don't know, become a poacher or whatever the hell I'm going to do. But we're going to get to a point to where other people have to figure out a way to stand up, prop up, buck up, belly up, and money up. Because if we spend as much as what we do to do it, we better figure out a way to spend as much as what we do to save it.
Yep.
What do you say to people that think hunting and fishing and that way of life is somewhat antiquated? That it's not the future?
Well, there's a lot of stuff happening in this world today I don't think is right.
Right.
I think there's a lot of things that she can agree on that she doesn't think is right. I think everybody that we deal with on every single level. And, you know, Sean Ender with Peak to Creek Productions that does our cinematography for us, he did a video that was called Speak. And, you know, just a 1 minute, it's on our website. It's on our Instagram stuff. Is speak for the animals that don't. Speak for those that don't. And I think that, you know, with all due respect, the animal rights wackos that are out there, they think they're doing the right thing, but they don't have the proof and the data and the statistics to back it up. But they are no less passionate about what they're doing as what we are.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I'll give them credit. I just think they're wrong.
Yeah.
And until they can belly up to the bar with hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars to support an industry for long term, then I don't think that there's any way, shape, or form that we cannot deny what our forefathers have laid out for us, whether it's Roosevelt or Hornaday or Audubon or Leopold
Go as far back as you want.
Yeah, you know, I mean that's where it started.
The history of mankind,
you know,
is built on hunting.
Exactly. You know, and I think that it's our due diligence to do as much as what we possibly can, and if we're not willing to do that, then where are our morals and ethics and values? Really believe that.
Yeah. No, I believe that you believe that. And I hope the question didn't come off as, I'm not questioning.
No.
Yeah, I'm curious. No. I'm curious more for just people out there in general. I mean, I don't know how many people that would listen to our podcast that don't hunt, or in that middle ground, right?
Yeah.
I think they listen to our podcast because we hunt, right?
Yeah.
And we're definitely, it's what we do. I mean, it's everything that I live and breathe.
I guess to try to put it in layman's terms for the person that maybe doesn't fully understand or doesn't think it's that big of a deal, how about if I walked into your house and tried to take all your shit away from you?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to give it up? Because that's what they're doing.
Sure.
They're walking into our house, period. But my house is your house right now.
And not just stuff, but like a genuine way of life. Like, exactly. And not stuff. It's not stuff. Like this you could say this is stuff, right? Like it's antlers and hide, and that's stuff. But it's not the reason I hunt. The reason that we all hunt, I guarantee it. It's not for the stuff. It's because of the way that it feels. It's the experience. It's all of it. It's the meat, it's the hide, the antlers, the memories. It's the connections, the bonds that you make with people. It's testing yourself. It's the sense of satisfaction from providing, meat for yourself and your family. We had tacos last night. It was at, I think deer or antelope. I can't remember, but. My wife made tacos and we ate it. My kids eat it. They love it. And as I sit down and I eat a taco, it's a basic taco. But as I eat that, I think, yeah, I killed that. Like that's something I saw that through the entire process. I killed it. I put the arrow through it. I processed the entire thing, ground it, we cooked it, we ate it. So it's not stuff. And I think that's the thing that like a lot of people, they look, if you're outside of this, you've never hunted, you didn't grow up, maybe, any familiarity with that kind of lifestyle. You look at it as like, this is the stuff, this is a thing on the wall, the thing that you value or I value, they could point to it and say, it's that antler, right? Those antlers. And that's not it.
No.
Like that's just a piece. It's something that I look at and I'm like, you know what? That was an incredible experience. I remember exactly the way I felt. I remember the amount of work and effort and dedication that it took me to find that success, and the sense, like my sense of self-esteem, like my sense of self, of who I am, is wrapped up in these experiences. So it's not stuff, and I understand what you're saying, but it's like it's everything that I am. Like it's the only thing that I look forward to. Like and I pardon.
And they're trying to choose how you live, how you breathe, how you eat, how you recreate. I mean, that's a 3-dimensional memory in my mind. But why is that any different than a petroglyph that's on the rock wall there at Moab, Utah? Maybe that was his photo collection for all I know. I mean, he turned around and chipped a bunch of stuff in it. That was a story. But stop and think about since the beginning of mankind, what meant to those people for survival. Okay, do we need this for survival? To some degree. I mean, if we're going to continue to maintain what we have.
I mean, I would argue that I do at this point, to be honest. And I'm not speaking specifically of food. I'm talking about my mental well-being and physical well-being. The thing that brings me some of the most pleasure in my life is that pursuit. It's at this stage in the world where we're sitting in front of a computer all the time. I have my phone in my pocket constantly. I drive down I-15 on my way home. 9 out of 10 people will be looking at their phone. That is the only time, those 10 days or whatever it is, that I get in the woods where I feel well. I feel disconnected from all that, and I feel like this is it. It's the only time that I feel it in today's world. And to me, that's what I value.
And the kicker is you can do that with a tag in your pocket, and other people do it without a tag in their pocket if they want to go mountain biking or if they want to go rock climbing or whatever. But overwhelmingly, we probably are, well, I know that I am anymore, but the percentage rate, the success rate of what we have versus what people believe that we have, it's a 10 or a 20 or a 30% success rate. There's one of the commercials that we kicked out where Sean said, the elk harvest rate in Colorado was 9%. That's straight across the board for everything. It's does, cows, cows, bulls, private, public, guided, unguided, any season, whatever. But he said in the commercial, can you imagine going to the grocery store and only being successful 9% of the time? And when you put it in a perspective, somebody like that, and say, and then what if you had to draw for the opportunity to go to the grocery store, and then you only turn around and were successful 9% of the time? We do something different for the opportunity to be able to provide that everybody gets the benefit off of, but we're the ones who decide to put the money out. We decide to turn around and put the effort into it. And if we decide to pull the trigger or not pull the trigger or pull the string or whatever. I had a conversation with an individual for HSUS, and she was enamored by the fact that when I said, you know how unsuccessful I am compared to the success that I have? And she said, why? And I said, because I have the choice. Maybe I didn't want to pack it that far. Maybe it wasn't the right size. Maybe I was stalking. I never got a chance to pull the trigger on it. Whatever. But I am unsuccessful more, and I keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. There's very few things that people do in today's environment that are for the better good of society and the landscape and the resources that they would be unsuccessful and continually go back and do it and pay to do it.
You want to.
That's the intestinal fortitude, I think, that comes into what we're trying to do, and that's why we're trying to fight so damn hard to do what we're doing. And I think Colorado's becoming the epicenter on a lot of different fronts, and I think that chip on my shoulder is expanding to where other people have a big chip on their shoulder as well.
Do you care? I'm going to take a break to use the bathroom real quick.
Go for it.
I got to pee or I'm going to pee my pants. So I apologize. We'll just...
You need to go?
I'm sorry about that. I get that tickle, and then my eye goes to
we'll
just
take a
to
quick
drain
break.
it.
We'll be right back. I'm good.
Isn't that weird?
I'm good
They
for
just
another hour
tears.
anyway.
Got a bladder of a 12-year-old.
Hey, might be time for checkup.
Yeah, you might want to.
I gotta go, man. I drink coffee on the way down, drink water when I'm here. You guys got me on this kick of trying to stay hydrated.
You have to stay hydrated. It's good for you.
I guess.
No, you got to pee every 5 minutes.
That's it. Yeah, the joys, right?
How many times do you stop on the way home?
Between here and Vegas, I'm like a 2-stopper usually.
Yeah.
Because like if I drink water on the way, I'm like I got them planned out. I know all the ranch exits. I know I know every spot along the way.
You don't have a pee bottle?
No, I ain't doing that. I'm just pull over. We're not that far gone, are we? Where a guy can't step out at a ranch exit and take a leak.
Sometimes I'll use a bottle.
No. Nope.
He just shakes his head over there.
Yeah, Cody thinks we're selling.
How do we go from chip on the shoulder to people?
No kidding. My bad. Yeah, but we're back. Yeah, I was just thinking as I was peeing. Sorry, which is what you do when you.
It's true.
Yeah, you make the point that I think people they say like, oh, you could get that somewhere else. You could get that through mountain biking or a trail run or whatever it might be. In the same regard, like we're not trying to take away mountain biking or trail running from those folks. To me, it's not even an apples to apples comparison. It's not even the same thing. It is in a sense to where if you went there, and when I did the Ranella podcast and I think Clay said, how about if we do a ballot initiative, stop rock climbing? Sure.
I mean, people would come out of the woodwork.
Oh, yeah.
But if you did it in the name of conservation because of birds of prey and
falcons
and
bats,
I mean, you'd start to open up some eyes of. Well, I don't want this to affect me. Well, you didn't come to my defense over there, and because you didn't think it was going to affect you then. I think that the ideology of the general public is that, even in our circle, that I'm bulletproof, that they're coming after you. And I think that if you look at the environmental movement, it has a tendency to be overreaching on a lot of different levels. And I don't think that mountain bikes, I don't think that hiking and backpacking are off the table. The more that you get into things, you look at the closures that we have, look at the lack of management that we have, look at the lack of monetary enforcement that we have. But they're all part of the scheme too, except for the difference is they're out there 365 days a year, and sportsmen for the most part aren't.
They aren't. And then, I mean, if you look at Pittman Robertson and all the money that permits put back into, I mean, the only reason that we have wildlife species in North America that we could hunt is because of hunting.
Yep.
You were talking earlier, I remember, and I've probably said this before, so I apologize if you're listening, but my dad, when I was a kid, he would always tell me that hunting permit in your pocket, it's not a 1-for-1 for the animal. It's not that you buy the permit, you get the animal. That hunting permit that you purchase is for the experience. It's for your opportunity to be in the woods pursuing game. It's like buying a movie ticket. You're going to sit through a movie and observe this and experience it. It's not a 1-to-1. It's not like I buy a hunting permit, I get an elk. It's an experience that you get, and then that feeds back into promoting and providing wildlife for everybody to view, to hunt, whatever it is that the value that you place on wildlife. And I've tried to pass that on to my kids because I think people that don't hunt, I think they look at hunting and they're like, oh, you buy the permit, you get the animal, you're out there just slaughtering animals. It's not. It's an experience. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, and it's something it's hard. When people say, why do you hunt? It's hard. That's different for everybody.
Sure.
Every single person. And maybe it's a method of take, maybe it's a species, maybe it's time with the family, maybe it's, just being out in the field. But you ask 100 people, why do you hunt? And you're going to get 145 different answers. And I think that's one of the things. Why do you mountain bike? You're going to get some different answers, but it's not as broad as what it is when you turn around and say, why do I hunt? And hunting is even different than fishing. You know, I mean, there's a different component there. That I like to fish, but I'm not an avid fisherman in the sense to where I am like an avid hunter. But we have more connectivity between the hunting and angling side of it than what, let's just say, rock climbers and hang gliders do. I mean, there's people that do some, there's people that do both, but they don't buy a license to be able to do it. And they don't have to, you know, on the hunting side, they don't have to go through a class or a course or a test to be certified to be able to do that. Same on the mountain lion deal. And people say, oh, it's just unregulated. No, it's not. You have to have a class. You have to have a test. You have to be able to pass the course. And then there's regulations that you have to adhere to and quotas and studies and guidelines and data and all the stuff that go into that. That doesn't go into mountain biking. Doesn't go into backpacking. You don't need any of that. You just buy a backpack out here in your showroom, turn around and go on a hike.
I hope they're buying backpacks in our showroom. That's right. If you're a backpacker out there and you just want a backpack, come get a backpack, and then we'll talk you into hunting. Did you have any? No. Okay. I wanted to dive into kind of where we're at currently on some of the issues.
On the lion stuff?
Yeah, on the lion stuff.
Yeah, we're up against the wall like a redneck mother, I think, right now. I say that wholeheartedly. Stop that. I say that wholeheartedly because they just started getting paid signatures.
How does that work?
So there's firms out there that turn around and charge to go collect signatures on behalf of whatever case you might want to make.
Is that legal?
Yeah.
How's that legal?
I can't pay you, but I can pay somebody to get yours. And so they just started doing that, which ups the game. They've got until July 5th to get the signatures that we fought diligently to get to the process that we need to get to.
So they pay a firm.
Yep.
Does the firm pay?
No, they can't pay. They can't pay the person.
They can't pay. They can't pay a person for the signature, but can they pay an intern to go out and collect signatures?
Yep, that's exactly what they do.
Freaking believable.
So now they'll have volunteer people in the field, and they'll have paid professional signature gatherers or circulators in the field. And the thing where we kind of got between a rock and a hard spot is the signatures were costing about $20 a piece. Now, because of some compromises and negotiations that our governor in Colorado worked out with the oil and gas industry on 2 particular ballot initiatives that we're going to be on this year, they worked those out so those signatures don't need to be gathered now. So there's 2 firms that opened up, and the signatures dropped. The signature per signature dropped from $20 to $3. So now they went out and they're I think we don't know exactly what they need to collect, but they need to collect a good amount because they were still doing volunteer signature stuff.
You don't know. We don't know how many they have to collect to then that be.
We know how many they need to collect. We just don't know where they're at in that process.
Like how far along they are.
Yeah. So we don't know whether they've got 12 or they got 12,000 or they have 120,000. I'm anticipating that they probably have somewhere between 50 and 70,000, and they need to get 124,238 by July 5th. But to be eligible and legible and so forth, they probably need 170 or 180,000 to make the threshold of 124.
Have you ever run into somebody out collecting signatures?
I have, not on this particular
heard
issue.
Their pitch? I mean, how does that go? I'm curious.
Well, from what I'm getting feedback from people that are in the field that actually see them in Whole Foods or in front of a shopping mall or a farmer's market.
Universities, probably.
Yeah, universities. Yeah. And they're lying, they're deceitful sales pitches, talking about trophy hunting, talking about cruelty, talking about orphaning of cubs, talking about the lack of management, talking about waste and want and waste laws. And I mean, they
talk about hot button issues that sounds like, oh yeah, sure, I'll sign my name. This
yeah, and then they even still are lying to the point to where they say, well, we don't want people to be able to just harvest things for the trophy. Yeah, but this is a total hunting ban. It doesn't have anything to do with the meat anymore. This is complete. Everything's off the table. Period.
Total ban.
Total ban. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when we fought diligently for the first 4 months to the tune of $200,000 through the legal process that we talked about in February, they started out, this was a trophy hunting ban, but we got the language changed in the title. So it's a hunting ban. They still are trying to promote it as a trophy hunting ban, but it is a hunting ban. The language specifically says that trophy hunting in the language, not the title, but in the language that says trophy hunting means intentionally killing, wounding, stalking, pursuing, or entrapping a bobcat or a mountain lion. That's hunting. And the bad part about it is, and I need to emphasize this on every podcast that I've done. Speaking of which, this is like the 64th one that I've done now. So
Kudos to you. Old pro.
So I'm
and I've listened to a fair number of them, and even then, they're still good.
Thanks. Well, I appreciate it.
I'm still fascinated.
I appreciate it.
So it comes through.
Well, and I think when you going back to my original assessment that you got 0.7 seconds to turn around and get somebody to be able to recall something. Over and over repetitiveness and redundancy is what we're seeing a lot of. We're finally, after 30 podcasts or 27 different commercials or whatever, somebody will send us a check for $50 saying, oh, I've been seeing this for the last 5 months. We need to get involved. Well, I think that where we are at compared to where we were in the process, we are light years ahead of where they thought we would be. That's why we put their backs against the wall. That we've created so many hurdles and obstacles for them to be able to turn around and try to circumvent. That's why they're up in their game. Now, somebody I think kicked some additional money in for this signature gathering process, because when you're dealing with the ballot initiative, there's issues committees and there's rules and regulations and audits and independent expenditure committees and stuff. You got to comply with a bunch of crap because you're dealing with voter stuff, and they're complying, but there's some money sitting in the wings somewhere. We just don't know where it's coming from yet, and until it actually hits their account, we won't know actually where it came from.
It's just wild that they can send out paid individuals to collect signatures and essentially disseminate, just put information out into the public that's completely dishonest.
Yeah, and it's
misleading, and just like, hey, just whatever they feel like they want to tell them.
I said this on Ranella, and Steve said this in one of our spots that he did, and he said, I believe that there could be a proposal to ban deer and elk hunting, and not too long in the future. And
don't you feel that if they get that, like if they cleared the hurdle, if they were able to get mountain lion hunting and bobcat hunting, cat hunting banned, and they had some success, why wouldn't they?
Well, and that's what I was going to say too before I had a brain fart. This will be a statutory definition, not regulatory. This will be the first time that essentially that trophy hunting in language would be determined in statute in the United States. So if you determine what the definition is, you can turn around and take bobcats out and put bighorn sheep in. You could take mountain lions out and put moose in if you really wanted to, because it's a statutory definition, because it defines trophy hunting.
Right.
Trophy hunting means intentionally killing, wounding, stalking, pursuing, or entrapping.
Which is hunting.
I don't know anybody that intentionally wounds anything, which is a bunch of bullshit anyway. But if it's defined, trophy hunting is defined as that. Tell me where in Nevada or in Texas or anywhere else that you couldn't turn around and take another species and put it in because of the statutory precedent. You look at the legal side, and she worked in the district attorney's office and through the federal court judge or state court judge for years.
14.
They go on precedent. Look at this is Keller versus Williams or whatever it might be. That's what they go off of. Regulatory is what the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission would deal with. Those are things that could be changed a little bit more easy. Statutory, you start really getting into some.
You establish precedents.
Yeah,
right.
And if you define the statutory definition of trophy hunting in the state of Colorado, that could be translated in the state of Colorado or out of the state of Colorado. Somebody wants to turn around and do, alligator gars or turkeys, for crying out loud. Just put it in there. Yeah. And will it pass? Maybe it won't. But nobody thought it'd pass in Colorado either.
Yeah. So if they collect the signatures, it'll go to a vote.
Yeah. If they get the signatures by July 5th, so that's why we're up against the deadline right now for the monetary fundraising side of things. Because we know that we have a specific timeline on our level to be able to talk to our audience, our stakeholder audience, not the target audience. The stakeholder audience is still the hook and bullet, the hunters and anglers that we've been talking to the last 9 months, educating them about how important this is. If we can't get our guys on board, how the hell are we going to get the people that aren't our guys on board?
Exactly.
And as soon as we get to a point to where September comes around, I mean, how many guys in this building are going to be around, September or gone?
All these rifle hunters, well, I'll be gone.
Yeah. I mean, September 1st comes around and we start to lose a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of connectivity, a lot of that conduit and mechanism with our groups because they're gone. They're in the field.
Yeah, big fights now through August.
Yeah. So from now until July 5th, then certification of the signatures, if they get enough, will happen by August 5th. And then from August 5th to November 5th is D-Day.
Mm-hmm. So what's the best way right now people can help join the fight?
We got to get some funds. We've been doing really, really remarkable, and to everybody that's contributed at every single level, whether it's the industry, whether it's organizations, or whether it's individuals, hound hunting associations in other states, kids with lemonade stands, old men giving us handwritten cursive notes with a walker going up to the mailbox and somebody taking a selfie of them and saying, I'm putting my money order in. Mm-hmm. We've gotten, we've gotten so much generosity from around the state and around the country, but we got to have more. We're dealing with a major, giant juggernaut. When you start talking about Wayne Pacelli, the former HSUS CEO, raising funds. Carol Baskins off of Tiger King. Carol
Baskins?
Oh yeah. She's in on top of this wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's.
That's all you need to know. If you're listening to this and you're on the fence, Carol Baskins. Go back and watch. Tiger King.
Exactly.
And then tell me if you would like to put your money and vote towards that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So you look at the following that they've got. They realize that this is an opportunity for them, the way Colorado's makeup is legislatively, appointment-wise, gubernatorial-wise, first gentleman-wise, the animal extremist-wise. They realize that if they can capitalize off of this, that it'll set a precedent on multiple levels that they can be able to turn around and broaden their message and broaden their reach and be able to accomplish what they want. But they also realize that if they don't, and that we're successful, and we can turn around and turn this around, where do they go next? And how do they go there? Because we built the roadmap and the playbook. We've helped create the mechanism, the conduit. I didn't say we do it all on our own. We just help give the opportunity for that. And, I joke about the 64th podcast. I mean, we can't buy that sort of stuff. We've had articles in Field and Stream, For Fish and Game, Full Cry, Sports Afield, Rocky Mountain, or the Bugle magazine. There's been like 12, 13 different publications. See what Eastman's did? They turned around and did the belly band on 40,000 different magazines. Hunt and Fool turned around and did the same thing. I mean, the industry. The reason I'm saying this is because a lot of these groups and entities are in competition with each other business-wise, but they realize that this is the tipping point.
Yeah.
They see just what I was talking about. I might not agree with you 100% on everything, but I realize that the enemy is over there and you're not the enemy. And they're all starting to realize internally that the enemy is not in our rank and file. Our enemy is the opposition who wants you gone and them gone and everybody else gone. And that's the remarkable thing, to see the enthusiasm and the optimism coming out. Outdoor Edge, for instance, they're doing a commemorative knife that's to save the hunt. And they're trying to get all of their people, whether it was Shockeys or Lee and Tiffany or everybody else, to promote the knife. All the money turns around and goes. I showed you the T-shirt. That guy came out of the woodwork. Yeah. And they're selling things on our behalf to generate money for this cause. Nobody's making any money off of it except for sending the money to what we're doing. And I think that sets the tone and the precedent for what we can try to capitalize on to make this event a victorious one for us. But then everybody else can turn around and capitalize off the successes that we've had.
And I will say, going on the website, making a donation is actually super easy. It takes a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I work in the hunting industry. I don't make a ton of money. I went on there and made a personal donation. It's that easy. Because like on our last podcast we did with you, what resonated with me is all the hunting apps we throw out, all the hunting license we spend. You mentioned, why don't we just take that money we would spend on hunting license and apps and use that same sort of thing and donate that same amount of money. So that's what I did. And it was super easy. That resonated with me. I spend a lot of money on hunting license and apps. I can donate that same amount to you guys to continue the fight. It's easy. And that should resonate with a lot of hunters. Like, we spend money on gear, licenses, donate it as well.
We've had multiple fundraising opportunities. One is the donate button on the SaveTheHuntColorado.com. The other one that I wanted to mention is the Colorado chapter of Safari Club International has got the 2 raffles going for us. If you go to SaveTheHuntColorado.com, you can go right to it. There's a hunt that you can register to win for on a raffle, and there's a Gunworks rifle. Gunworks rifle and a scope donated by Gunworks and Salida Gun Shop. The Lion Hunt and the Lion Mount is donated by Whitaker Brothers Outfitting and Ovis Wildlife Taxidermy with Doug Barnes. And all 4 great companies. The opportunity for people to, if you don't want to donate, then you get a chance at 2 different raffles. You don't want to do that, then go to the shop page and buy a damn hat or a T-shirt or every single dollar that we're generating goes to this fight and this effort. And we need every single dollar that we can possibly get at this point in time. And that we've had a question, multiple questions. People said, well, if they don't get the signatures, what are you going to do? Then we go on the offense. We don't know what that is yet. Depends on if it's legislative or otherwise. We can't run a ballot initiative in Colorado next year because it's 2025, so we can only run a tax measure on the ballot. So if we wanted to run a ballot measure, I'm just throwing something out. The right to hunt
hunt fish.
I was
going there next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can't do that until 26.
Sure.
But it takes you 2 years to be able to get to that process. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to have fights before us in the next 2 years, because this governor and the first gentleman are still there for the next 2 years as well. If they don't get the signatures, we are going on the offense. That means we still need additional funds. But we need everybody to understand that what goHUNT has provided, what Meat Eaters provided, what Outdoor Edge has provided, what Eastman's have provided, what every single other organization on the planet that has contributed to this has provided, plus the thousands of individuals that have contributed, from $5 a week that are people putting stuff in to $5,000 at a whack. This is going to a mechanism and a playbook building process to say, this is what we did collectively as an industry and as a country to support the North American model of wildlife conservation and responsible wildlife management. We can't do it on our own. But if we're not here, we damn sure can't do it to help somebody else.
Yep.
And I think that you could see the generosity and the enthusiasm that is coming out of the community that has not happened at the level that we've seen it over the course of the last 9 months. They see there's an opportunity for a victory. If we need to be at the tip of the spear, fine, we'll be at the tip of the spear. We need to put our head in the noose, we'll put our head in the noose. But we're going to continue to do it until we're victorious, collectively and individually and organizationally and industry-wide. And if we can't do it at this level, show me how the hell you're going to do it in the next state or the next species or the next method to take.
Yeah, and it's not going away.
It's never going away.
Yeah.
But we can damn sure kick them back.
Yep. Yeah. No, and I mean, just in the same way that they're trying to set a precedence, we can do the same thing on the opposite side. So their efforts that they've said on a hot mic when they were asked, why did you go after this? They said, we went after the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to give a couple statistics. In Colorado, there's 2,500 and some odd mountain lion hunters last year with a 486 lion harvest, 19% success. I said this at the Rocky Mountain Bighorn Sheep Banquet on the 2nd of May. There's less mountain goat, bighorn sheep, and moose hunters combined than there is mountain lion hunters. And they said they wanted to go after the low-hanging fruit, mountain lion hunters. There's less bighorn sheep, mountain goat, and moose hunters. If they said that they're going after the low-hanging fruit, and then they also mentioned that once they go after the low-hanging fruit, they want to cut the branch off, cut the tree down, and then go into the forest, I'd like to know where the mountain goat, the bighorn sheep, and the moose hunters think that they're at next. Trish Zornio with the Colorado Sun late last year, turned around and put an article out, and she said point blank, why are bighorn sheep any different than mountain lions? Why are we killing the state animal? If you don't think that they've got a plan and a roadmap to go somewhere else after they get rid of the low-hanging fruit, then you're mistaken. For sure.
And if we lose at this level, and CRWM does not have the ability to commingle our efforts and get our strategies together and get the finances in a row, if we can't win with this, when they said that this is low-hanging fruit, but in reality it's not in total numbers, who the hell is going to turn around and help support the other ones? We want to build the roadmap and the playbook and the armament and pack the sandbags and say, come and get it, and you're not taking any more. Mm-hmm. And I think it's feasible. And I think that they're scared to death. That's why they're getting paid signatures now, because they thought they could do it volunteer-wise. But they know with this governor, this legislature, and these appointments that this is their one shot to turn around and do this through the ballot, or they will not get a chance in the next 2 years. Mm-hmm. Period. We beat them for 2 years. I bet we beat them for 4. We beat them for 4. I bet we beat them in New Mexico and in Arizona on other shit.
In every other state.
In every other state.
Utah. I mean, you look at the Wasatch Fronts where people live.
Exactly. It sounds like I'm trying to do a rally cry, but it's more of a personal experience to say, look, people keep saying we always lose. And if you listen to Charles Whitman with Howell, we don't always lose. No. We lose a few here and there. We've not lost in Colorado in the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they brought wolves in. That was a margin of error by 1.9%. Mm-hmm. How much you want to bet that a significant amount of those people that voted for wolves are going to turn around and vote against this hunting ban? And I think that that's the truth, because they realize that wolves were a mistake. Yeah, they had a grandiose idea in their head of what wolves were going to do, and they haven't come to fruition. Now they see it's in the news every day in a negative fashion, and I think that they're willing to recognize that science-based wildlife management should be left up to the experts, to the 350 biologists and scientists within Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and not up to the general public to decide where our wildlife resources are going to be managed and how they're going to be able to be maintained in perpetuity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well said. Well stated. What's it like being married to Dad? I'm curious.
It is always an adventure.
Yeah.
We're never sitting there just trying to figure out something to do. But I love being married to him. He's very kind-hearted, always thinks about other people. And he is, as you can see, very passionate for what he does. Yeah. What you see, that's how he is 24/7. It's not on-off switch at all. This is our lifestyle.
Yeah.
I always joke every morning, I'm a secretary treasurer of an association. So I say I put that hat on, do whatever I need to. Then I put my CRWM hat on, do what I need to for it. And then I put on my Ritter Critter hat. So it's just, and that's just our normal day, and then we deal with our regular home stuff.
Yep.
So, but I love what we do, and it's our lifestyle. I don't know what I would do otherwise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And being able to see the animals, and you kind of have a peace that comes over you. When I look out my office window and I can see the antelope in the pasture, the deer in the pasture, along with our horses and donkeys, it's just that kind of peace. Mm-hmm. And I love that.
Yeah. We do good together. We do good as a team. Mm-hmm. Our son is part of all of this, and he's just passionate, but he does the business side to be able to maintain. So we're doing 90 hours a week in this crap right now.
I can imagine.
It's
you said that earlier.
Yeah.
And I bet you moan about, a 70-hour week sometimes. I'm sure Porter will love to hear that. But I'm like, man, got to work a weekend. But you said that to me earlier, and it really, it resonated with me. Like, I really get the feeling you guys are living this 24 hours a day.
It's
7 days a week.
It's a chip on our shoulder. It's expensive. It's taxing on your personal life. I get frustrated when people that we're supporting and doing what we do for bitch or complain about I didn't get my tag, or
sure.
I was talking to Chris in there about the licenses went up by $30 or whatever the hell, and I'm thinking if that's all you got to gripe about, I care about making sure that you can continue to do what you do and that our friends can continue to do what they do. Mm-hmm. I strive to be able to turn around and do some of the stuff. I've been fortunate enough. I've traveled around the world at different levels. I am going to Africa this summer. I booked the hunt during COVID, and I've contemplated on and off and on and off and on and off that I wasn't going to go. So I cut the trip down, and my son and Karen both said, just go. You got to get away.
Yeah.
And so the straw that broke the camel's back is the gal that the PH that I'm going with, the firm. She said, we have internet service.
So you're still working.
So I can still, she said, you need to do a meeting. We'll put you at the BOMA and you'll turn around and do whatever you need to do it, however you need to do it. And so I'm going the 10th of July to the 20th of July, but it's right after the 5th. And I imagine I'm going to be sitting in the Atlanta airport and the Johannesburg airport and Port Elizabeth,
celebrating.
Hopefully celebrating. And if not, then we're going to be strategizing. And that gives us another opportunity to figure out where we're going to go and how we're going to get there when we get back.
Yeah.
So
I love the fact that you said if they don't get the signatures, which would be best case scenario, they don't get the signatures, and then what's next? State right to hunt and fish.
Yeah, we're going to kick some ass. I mean, I've already been talking to Mahoney on this, and we talked to a lot of the partners in the American Wildlife Conservation Partnership. And we've got a similar group that we did in Colorado called the Colorado Wildlife Conservation Project. We will go on the offense. And what better way to do it is when you come off of the coattails of a victory.
Yep.
And we might have to run something legislatively. We might have to run something additional defense. But we're not going to sit on our laurels and wait to see what happens. A meeting I had yesterday with 35 different people on Zoom, and a couple of them were like, well, we're just sick and tired of being on the defensive all. Well, then help us win so we can go on the offense.
Exactly.
Because show me who's going on the offense at any single level. And it's not criticizing. It's just that the reason we don't is because we're typically defensive oriented. As a community.
Yep.
We wait to see who's going to kick us in the nuts, and then we decide. Then we're going to go buy a jockstrap and a cup. It's a little late at that point in time. I mean, I'm to the point where I think that we have the ability, we have the tools, the electronic technology that's been available to us that the industry has used to better the industry. We haven't utilized as the fight as much as what we possibly could, and I'm finding out that that's actually a pretty damn good tool to be able to arm your defense and offense at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think there's I give us not just a puncher's chance. I can say that we've won the first 4 rounds in the 15-round title bout through this initial stage, but we still have to turn around and fight the full 15 rounds or knock the hell out of them before they get to that point.
Yep. Well, you're a good man, and you're a good woman for working as hard as you guys do.
Appreciate it.
I'm once again just genuinely thankful that there are people out. I couldn't do what you do. You're so well. I mean, you have the passion for it, but you also are so you're well spoken. You're the right person at the right time.
Thanks.
So
Appreciate it.
A hearty thank you from myself, and I'm sure everybody at goHUNT works here, and anybody that would listen to our podcast. I mean, a genuine and hearty thank you for everything that you've done.
Well, we appreciate it. We just need everybody's support and backing as much as what we possibly can. And the team that we built within our rank and files. I mean, the individuals that are volunteering their time from our board members and others. We got guys that are doing the social media side of things, the website side of things. Helping to run the organization, taking the brunt of emails and phone calls and stuff that I people want to talk to me, and I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
It's not being rude. It's just like, that's out of my wheelhouse. I have to turn you over to somebody else. We have a very good team established. We've got a very good core bunch of individuals, and the people around that are starting to come together to where you're starting to see they want to help carry your message, and they want to extend the outreach, and they want to use your language and your tools. They don't want to do their tools. Historically, when I've done this so frequently over different small things, everybody wanted to say their own piece because they wanted to, appease their membership. Now they're like, what can we do to get your message to our membership? And I think that that's a valuable component of where we need to be down the road for everybody. Whether it's a sheep deal or a bow deal or a mountain lion deal or a turkey deal or whatever, we better figure out a way to talk the talk and walk the walk, as opposed to talk your talk and then watch him walk his walk. That's not a team effort.
Yeah, together.
Yeah, it's got to be together. And goHUNT, all the other major organizations and entities that have stepped up and bellied up. You guys have saw us at different shows and things. All that stuff was the generosity was given to us. Because everybody sees the need for it.
Yeah, rightly so.
So we just appreciate but people need to not let off the gas pedal. They need to help They need to turn around and educate themselves, be informed about our issue, their issues, make sure they pay attention to their general assemblies and their commissions and who's making the decisions on their behalf that maybe they elected or didn't elect, or that maybe was appointed. And they need to get engaged and get involved in some capacity. And on a final note, I would say, people ask what can they do outside of sending money? Get engaged. If you would donate 5 to 10 hours a year, not to a banquet, not to a fundraiser, but to writing letters to the General Assembly or to the Commission, or go to testify or sign up virtually, 5 to 10 hours a year, and you did that times 14 million hunters and anglers across the country, we would be undeniably the most formidable bunch of conservation-minded individuals on the planet. 5 to 10 hours a year, and we could turn around and turn this thing around so easily that the antis would not have anything to be able to turn around and stop it, period.
That's well put.
Powerful.
Everyone has 5 to 10 hours a year.
5 to 10 hours a year. That's all it is. Yep.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that people generally get hung up on. Oh, what do I do? But it's a different day and age, and that really writing letters, sending comments, showing up.
It's a big deal.
Those are the kinds of things that carry weight, and the things that when you ask, what can I do? Those are the things that you can do.
Yeah. If they don't want to do it themselves, when guys like Howl for Wildlife kick something out,
Sure.
and they're doing a call to action in Florida or in Colorado or in Washington, hey, sign up, because they have a program, they have a format that is it's remarkable, and the legislators are paying attention to it. I see it firsthand because of what we're doing in Colorado. I'm working with Charles and Mike and John with Howl, and they're great partners, but they have a tool that we should be able to utilize. But that doesn't mean that's what you should rely on. If you own a business in Salt Lake City, you should know who your legislator is, and you should let your legislator know who the hell you are, because they care about their constituents. If they don't know that you hunt, and they don't know you own a gas station, or they don't know that you own a stucco company or whatever, how the hell are they going to turn around and act when they don't know anything about their constituents? Most of our people don't necessarily pay attention to the politics, because that's not the fun part of hunting and fishing. They got to pay attention to the politics 5 or 10 hours a year to figure out who the hell is making those decisions, and so they can interact with those people, and so those people that are making the decisions act on your best behalf.
Yeah, so that you can continue to do the things that you do love.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys' time. That was awesome.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you very
It was really
much.
good. It's always good to talk to you. And it was lovely to meet you.
Thank you very much.
I can see
had
why,
a good time.
I can see why he's so successful.
Oh, thank you.
Now she's going to fret when she goes out. How did I look? How did I talk?
You did great.
I'm sorry I lost my
you did
air
great.
and had a
You did
tickle.
awesome.
No, it was a phenomenal product.
You were a lifesaver. Thank you.
I hope you guys go out and enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy your anniversary, and congratulations on that.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.